Chief, this is an email exchange of February 15th, 2022 between one of your officers, Cameron Hopgood, and Matthew Gravel of the Mayor of Ottawa's staff. You know who both those individuals are, correct?
I do.
In this email, Matthew Gravel asks for all the stats in the previous email with respect to criminal investigations, arrests, and charges. And Cameron Hopgood responds and says that there had been a total of 31 people arrested, but only 16 people charged as of February 15th, 2022. Would you agree with that?
Well, I would agree that the email states that, yes.
Right, and of course, you just said he's in the data section, so he would know that.
That's correct.
Right? So you have no reason to disbelieve that there were only 16 charges laid as between January 28th and February 15th, 2022 regarding the protesters, isn't that correct?
So what I would agree is that the data analysis that he would have done would have represented that. There may have been more that were in the terms of being processed, and I think this is on February 15th. There's a better table within our institutional report that more clearly identifies the numbers that would have occurred.
Right, and that is, if I can call the next document. So I understand the protest begins at January 28th, 2022, and in that entire time period until February 13th, 2022 at 11:59 p.m., there are a total of 4 charges laid for assault. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right. And you can agree with me that between January 29th to February 13th, there was a total of 4 assault charges laid then. We can agree on that.
Yes.
And with respect to assaults with a weapon from that same time period, there was a total of 1 assault with a weapon charge laid, correct?
Yes.
All right. Can you agree with me that in the entire same time period, there was no charges under the criminal code for causing a disturbance by fight or shouting or swearing?
That's yes.
And there was no charges laid against any of the protesters in that same time period for causing a disturbance by impeding or molesting a person?
That's correct.
All right. And there are also no charges laid with disturbing an occupant of a dwelling, apartment, or complex under the criminal code either, was there?
That's correct.
And can you agree with me in that time period, that is from January 29th to February 13th at 11:59 p.m., there was no charges of inciting hatred in a public place ever laid, was there?
Correct.
And you can agree with me that in that same time period that only 1 charge of intimidation by threat of violence was ever laid.
Correct.
If we can, last one, there was no charge either in that same time period for taking a weapon of a police officer in execution of his duty.
Correct.
And in that same time period, there was never any charges of uttering threats to property to damage, or to damage property under 264.1 of the criminal code either, right?
Correct.
All right. So there's a total of 5 violent offenses charged between January 28th, 2022 and February 13th, 2022. Is that right?
So I'm not sure how you're classifying violent charges, and we'd have to go through them again to identify.
So anything dealing with an assault or threatening to cause bodily harm or to kill someone. There's 5 charges in relation to that.
I'll take your word for it. We'd have to go through the list again.
Okay. So you'd agree with me that that's not unprecedented violence, is it?
So as I defined violence, it wasn't strictly criminal code violence, and I'm happy to again go through the definition that I was using when I was talking about community violence. This is a part of it. Threats, charges under the criminal code was a part of it, but it was the trauma that the community felt. It was the extreme circumstances that they were exposed to and the duration of time that they were exposed to that has very clearly been described to me by community members as violence inflicted on them and towards them.
And so that's the honking, right? It's one of them.
Honking would be one of them.
The I believe, the exhaust coming from trucks.
But I think it's important you put it in context. It's the honking of large air horns
Right.
of approximately 3 to 4 to 500 trucks simultaneously for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's not just tooting a little horn. It's the incessant noise pollution that is being inflicted on the people that we were referring to.
Right, and we've already heard evidence that as of February 7th, when Mr. Champ and his client, Zexi Lee, obtained an injunction with respect to silencing those horns, things got better. You agree?
Well, I think they got better for a period of time, yes.
Right.
But that was on the 7th. That was 9 days, 10 days into the circumstance.
Right, and it's also the fact that the trucks that were blocking up downtown Ottawa, in that area, we've heard some evidence that there's about 18,000 people. Is that right?
That would be accurate, I believe.
And what's the entirety of the population of Ottawa?
Just over 1 million.
Just over 1 million. So 18,000 residents were the ones being put through the violence as you define it.
I don't think the size of the amount of people that were being exposed to it minimizes the trauma that those community members felt and very clearly expressed. On the general population of Ottawa, it was a smaller number, but it doesn't minimize the impact it had on that number of people or that group of people.
Thank you.